Well, fresh off a 12-6 gritty victory, I'm with Coach Joseph Smith of the Linfield Wildcats. I'm Kevin Nelson, and Coach, let's dive right in and talk about this week against George Fox. The weather was horrible, first and foremost, sideways wind and rain the whole game, and well after as well. But how much of a factor was that weather, and did you feel that your team was prepared enough for it? 12-6, we were just talking about a pretty unusual score.
I don't know that you can probably be as prepared as you'd like to be for a day like that. I know both teams, I'm sure, prepared and tried to with wet balls, etc. But we really have not had practices like that this year, and that's interesting. You know, we had beautiful days of practice leading up to it, which I would have rather had some really bad inclement days that you could maybe kick into the wind, and the wind is in conjunction with rain is what's typically so difficult with a game scenario. So we had not seen that, and it was crippling for both teams, obviously, with the scores.
George Fox had 5 sacks in the ball game. Kind of talk about your guys up front and what went wrong for them on really their worst performance of the year as far as sacks and getting to the quarterback.
Right. It's always a combination of both. I think some of the a couple of those were just some strange circumstances. We had some errant snaps, which led to quarterback getting out of where he should have been, if that makes sense. And so some of that was a variety of factors that played into it. But not our best day, there's no question about that. We had some guys having to play through pain and injury, and very proud of their efforts. But our performance was not where it needs to be, certainly. And that's probably the number one reason that led to that.
You went back to your workhorse, or the guy who's really become your workhorse, Chidibem Noli, 27 carries, 120 yards. Talk about him, and now with 100 yards in 4 straight games, all in conference play, he's just your guy, your go-to running back, it seems like.
Well, we were really excited about him. Obviously, for the last 2 or 3 years, it seems like we've been recruiting him, and he finally is here, and he's very talented, and he's the player that we thought he might be, and he's still going to get better is the beauty of that. And he's very talented, and yet we have another 3 or 4 running backs that are very talented, and I think really complement the group. We've been so impressed with Dawson Rule and what he's done as a freshman, and now that Blake's back and healthy, I think we've got a really nice core, and Kellen Marshall, another freshman's really given us some good snaps here and there in terms of some of the things we're asking him to do. So I really like our running back crew.
Mm-hmm. Not often do you go a game without scoring a touchdown, especially teams coached by you. How important was field position, and then in the end, time of possession, where you had 16 minutes longer with the football than George Fox?
Yeah, I felt like the game, had you asked me before what the points were going to be, I would have guessed 10-7, 14-12, something like that. And I had a good feeling that what our defense was going to do, and they did that, especially given the weather. That was very difficult for that team too to move the ball in. But it's really a tale of 2 quarters, when you have the wind, when you don't, and we've played in games like that, and as long as we were able to not turn the ball over, and that was somewhat of what we tried to do on offense, is win with defense and special teams and field position, knowing that the score is going to be low, and not find a way to beat ourselves in that scenario. And I really was pleased with our team doing that. It wasn't a pretty win, but it honestly was a fairly well thought out controlling of the field positions. And the game turned on that 75-yard punt, so to speak, concept there, where we got them back, and then our drive into the wind, where we were able to eat up most of that third quarter. That was a dangerous period for us in terms of giving them the wind and deciding to hold on for the wind for the fourth quarter and kick off into that. That's always dangerous, to give a team the ball and the wind, and we got to stop. And then we had our best drive of the game, where we took it down, ate up most of that third quarter, and turned around and kicked a field goal with the wind. And that, at that point, I okay, that's the game. Whatever it made it 6-0 or 9-0. That's probably it, and then we got very conservative and just were able to run out the clock.
Right, that drive like 8 minutes long or something crazy like that. Longest drive of the year for the Cats. Your team was penalized 9 times for 95 yards, though. That's very uncharacteristic of your teams. Kind of talk about that. Was it just the rivalry, the smack talk, the circumstances of the game? What was it?
Well, I think for it to be a rivalry, it's got to be a rivalry on both sides. But I think there was an amazing amount of smack talk being given, and I've never really seen a team come out and do some of the posturing and things that went on.
Sure.
That was quite unusual,
Mm-hmm.
and so there was some of that, but the bottom line is our discipline was not where it needs to be, and we can't have 4 penalties of 15 yards or more, and that will kill you. And we're very lucky that it did not cost us the game in some fashion.
Mm-hmm. Willie Warren, player of the game, he scored all 12 points for you guys on field goals, 45, a couple from 30 yards out, then the chip shot from 20 yards. Northwest Conference Special Teams Athlete of the Week for the 3rd time. But talk about how he's transitioned from last year where it seemed like confidence wasn't there, maybe wasn't as reliable as obviously he is now, and now he's only missed 1 kick going back to week 2 against UMHB.
Yeah, he's had a very good year, as you mentioned, and last year. It's ancient history. I don't remember any of it, and neither does he. And so we're just focusing on the now, and right now he's focusing on what he can do and not trying to do more than what he can do, and it's being very successful for him.
Finally, let's chat a little bit about this week. PLU 2-3 on the season, 2-2 in conference play. Kind of a middle of the conference team statistically, and what do you expect out of the Lutes this time around in Tacoma?
The unexpected, I expect tremendous emotional swings. They're a really difficult team to play. They always are. They're never an easy victory, and they'll play hard no matter what the score is, and they're very, very dangerous on defense. I think that's certainly the strength of their team. Their offense will run some wrinkles, and they're unique in what they do, so their uniqueness and their creativity will get them some points. They pretty much do that every year, but they may not have the elite talent that they've had maybe some of the other years in terms of playmakers, but they're a very good scheme-based offense, and they'll play very hard. So they're very dangerous. Playing up there has never been easy. It's always a tough place to play for whatever reason, it seems like, and probably because of who we're playing. Mm-hmm. Early travel game, you got to leave at 6 a.m. That's never easy. To load the buses at 6 a.m. for a game is not ideal, but I'm looking forward to it. It's fun. We get to eat at Country Cousin. We love that. Been doing that since our team's been doing that literally since the 60s, so wow. It's pretty neat, and it's going to be a great game.
Kickoff from Spark Stadium set for 1 p.m. in Tacoma. We'll see you there, Coach, and we'll see the Cats there as well as the number 6 team in the country takes on PLU. Thanks, Coach.